Okay, so this is a story about a total paradox. We're talking about a colossal aircraft, born from military necessity, that was so complicated, so flawed, it almost went down as one of the biggest failures in aviation history. But, and this is the crazy part, in a weird twist of fate, this flying whale, the C-5 Galaxy, ended up completely and accidentally changing how you and I fly today. You know, its pilots have a saying for it: the giant that comes home even when nature says it shouldn't. And man, that just perfectly sums up this machine, doesn't it? It's a beast, built to take on the impossible and just refuse to quit. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at how this giant was even conceived. Then we'll get into the mind-blowing engineering behind it. After that, the growing pains. And trust me, they were bad. Then we'll see how it earned the name the Unbreakable Whale. And finally, the part you won't see coming: its unexpected legacy. All right, let's jump back in time. We're in the 1960s, and the US military has a huge problem. They need a new kind of transport plane. The ones they had, they just weren't cutting it. The demand was simple, but totally radical. Build us a plane that can haul anything. I'm talking tanks, helicopters, you name it, anywhere in the world, and it had to be fast. So this need gave birth to something called the CXHLS program. And the demand here was just monumental. They wanted a plane that could carry so much stuff it would make older transports look like toys, but it still had to have the speed of a jet airliner. Talk about a tough ask. So to even try and meet this challenge, companies like Lockheed and General Electric basically had to tear up the rulebook and invent the future on the spot. And what they came up with was a mix of pure genius and some seriously bizarre engineering. I mean, just try to wrap your head around the scale of this thing. How many wheels do you think it needs? It has 28. 28 massive wheels just to spread out its incredible 380-ton maximum weight. And that's so it can land not just on a nice paved runway, but on rough dirt strips right near the action. So what can you actually do with all that space? Well, for starters, you can drive two 68-ton M1 Abrams tanks right inside. Or how about 6 Apache helicopters? You could even stuff an entire C-130 transport plane in there if you took its wings off. And yeah, the math checks out. You could literally fit an 8-lane bowling alley inside. It's not a cargo hold, it's a flying cavern. But getting all that stuff in and out was a huge problem. So the engineers came up with this brilliant, radical solution. The entire nose of the plane, this 6,000-pound section they call the visor, it just hinges straight up, right over the cockpit. You combine that with a ramp in the back, and now you can just drive vehicles straight on and straight off. It's a drive-through cargo plane, and it cut loading times like you wouldn't believe. Okay, but here's where it gets really clever. The C-5 can actually kneel. I'm serious. The super complex landing gear contracts, and the whole massive body of the plane lowers down until the cargo floor is right at truck bed height. So instead of a steep, dangerous ramp, you can just drive heavy vehicles straight on. It's just an absolute marvel of hydraulic engineering. But for all of this incredible innovation, the C-5's early life was a total disaster. The same ambition and complexity that made it a marvel also made it super fragile and just ridiculously expensive. It got so bad that the crews who had to fly and fix it gave it a nickname, Fred. And, Fred was not a compliment. It stood for effing ridiculous economic disaster. Why? Because of the insane cost overruns and the fact that it was always breaking down. And the biggest problem, the near-fatal flaw, was in the wings. See, to save weight, they were designed with practically zero margin for error. During the stress test, a wing that was supposed to handle 150% of its maximum load just snapped at only 128%. The realization of what that meant was absolutely terrifying. From there, the crisis just spiraled. Soon after the first planes were delivered, crews started finding fatigue cracks in the wings. By 1973, it was so bad they had to halt production completely. The entire fleet was at risk of catastrophic failure. It took a massive, multi-billion-dollar program in the 80s just to go back and replace the wings on every single plane they'd built. But this is where the story takes a turn. After all those expensive fixes and upgrades, the C-5 came out the other side as a totally different animal. It wasn't just big anymore. It was tough, incredibly tough. It finally became that unbreakable whale that crews depend on to this day. And the physics behind this are just fascinating. That immense weight, which was once a huge liability, actually turned into its greatest survival tool. Think about it. In a bad storm or heavy turbulence that would throw a smaller jet around like a toy, the C-5 has so much inertia it just plows right through the chaos. It's like its own stabilizing anchor in the sky. Now, to get anywhere in the world, the C-5 has to refuel in the air. And this is a seriously delicate and dangerous dance between two massive jets. A pilot once said, when it's time to air fuel, it's game time. And you can see why. It's all about surgical precision, linking up your 380-ton transport with a tanker flying just feet away, all while pumping thousands of pounds of fuel every minute. At its core, the plane is all about redundancy. Everything is over-engineered for one reason: survival. It doesn't have one hydraulic system. It has 4 independent ones. The new wings, they have multiple spars, so if one fails, the others can take the load. The landing gear is built to take an absolute beating. This plane was built with one mission in mind: come home no matter what. But here's the thing. The most incredible part of the C-5 story, it has absolutely nothing to do with the military. Its troubled, difficult birth had these 2 totally accidental side effects that, believe it or not, directly created the world of modern air travel that we all take for granted today. So, plot twist number 1, it involves Boeing. See, Boeing actually competed for the C-5 contract, and they lost to Lockheed. So now they're left with this incredible design for a giant transport plane and nothing to do with it. But then, airlines like Pan Am came knocking. So what did Boeing do? They took their losing military design, redesigned it for passengers, and created the Boeing 747, the world's first jumbo jet, and it changed everything. And that brings us to plot twist number 2, the engines. To get the massive C-5 off the ground, General Electric had to invent a brand new type of engine, the high-bypass turbofan. It was a game changer, super powerful, but also way more fuel efficient. The military got their version, the TF39, but GE, being smart, made a civilian version called the CF6. And that engine is the one that went on to power the 747, the DC-10, the Airbus A300. It literally became the foundation for almost every large jet engine we have today. So the next time you're at an airport and you see one of those huge, wide-body jets, just remember the flying whale. Remember this military giant whose painful, near-failure of a birth story is the reason we have the Queen of the Skies and the incredible engines that power our modern world. And it really makes you wonder, right? What everyday tech that we're all going to use in the future is being hammered out right now somewhere in a lab, born from military necessity?